next proceeding, Hankinson's lawyers say he may opt to add to or completely change his legal team. He'll reveal that at a status hearing next month. The new federal trial is set for October. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Tesla is recalling nearly all its vehicles in the U.S. to fix its system that monitors drivers using autopilot. There's a new international destination for those looking to watch some NFL action.
The NFL has announced that a 2024 regular season game will be played in Brazil for the first time ever. International games have been a hot topic of discussion during this week's owners' meetings in Dallas, and now Arena Corinthians in Sao Paulo, which hosted 6 matches during the 2014 FIFA World Cup, will be hosting the game. Brazil is the league's 3rd largest market, behind the U.S. and Mexico. Spain is reportedly under consideration to host a game during the 2025 season. That would be played at Santiago Bernabeu Stadium, home of Real Madrid. Tony Genualdo, Fox News.
The Library of Congress has selected 25 more films to preserve into the National Film Registry. They include Apollo 13, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and it also includes newer films like 12 Years a Slave and 20 Feet from Stardom. Each year, the library chooses films of cultural or historical significance for preservation. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
Hello, everyone, and we want to welcome you to the fastest moving hour in radio. This is the Lawrence County Republican Party radio show. We're going to be talking some politics tonight. My name is Brandon Taylor. I am the chairman of the Lawrence County Republican Party. And across the table from me is the secretary of the Lawrence County Republican Party, Mr. Lawrence Sutton. And to his right is Mr. Kip Capley, our good friend who is also state representative. And welcome, guys. Glad to have you back in the station today or in studio today. What's going on, Kip Capley?
Hey, thank y'all for having me back on.
Hey, we always love to have you. You know, this is
action.
I mean, this is just as much yours as ours. This is the Republican Party.
We're gearing up.
I think we could get Kip to come in and do the weather.
We could.
Yeah.
I could do weather. I could do sports.
Yeah, he could do sports. He could come in and do some stuff like that. You know, the weatherman's always, the funny guy.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but I'm going to tell you something. There's something about I just like the idea. I sleep better at night knowing that Kip Capley's up in Nashville representing us here.
I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just going to tell you.
I apprate it.
Yep.
So I don't want him getting into having to get into the weather or anything like that. We'll let Ben Luna do that.
Yeah. And, we were saying it just as we were coming on air. We're glad you're a fighter, and you're a fighter for the good folks in your district, and we're glad you're in there. Looking forward to seeing what's going to be happening in the next legislative session. I'm seeing some stuff come through.
Yeah.
I've seen some bills that's been proposed. You got anything out there you're looking at?
Yeah, I got a good one I figured out, got working on a little bit yesterday. It's I was going to run it last year and we didn't kind of get there, but we got a medical freedom bill that I think a lot of people are going to be really happy about. It's going to be a big lift, and I'm going to need help from everybody back home, but a lot of times during COVID, and y'all mark it down, write it down as I'm saying it, we're not doing COVID like we did last time in the state of Tennessee again. We're not going to. It's just as long as I'm there. I mean, we're just not going to do it. So it was a situation that I know a lot of people had to deal with when their family members were in ICU or they were in the emergency room or they were in a facility at a hospital specifically where they had to be put on a ventilator or they had to be put back, and the hospital wouldn't allow the family members to go see the patient.
No, they wouldn't. I mean, my wife's mom died that way.
They wouldn't allow it. So a lot of times what you'd get is you would get some kind of medical provider, whether it be an administrator or a doctor or whoever, or a nurse manager, whatever, would call the family and say, hey, this is what's going on with John Doe. He's really, really sick. We had to intubate him. We put him on a ventilator. We basically had 2 options. We can take him off the ventilator and he's going to die, which is what that was the narrative. I'm not saying.
Hey, listen, I did it with my dad.
I'm not saying. Please listen to me, folks. I am not saying that is my medical opinion. I am not a doctor. That is just what they would say.
That's exactly what
they would say. Or the secondary option would be we're going to give them remdesivir and another cocktail of drugs while they're intubated, and then we'll see how they progress.
Sure.
And what you saw was a large. And I don't have the statistics, but a good majority of those folks that I know and that I've heard about passed away after they chose that second option.
So let me tell you this: I lived it.
Yeah,
I had 60% of my family members die that way, but they actually gave the remdesivir before they put you on the
maybe that's
oxygen.
Yeah.
So the remdesivir was given first.
Yeah.
And then it would harm the kidneys.
Yep.
It would cause the other organs to start shutting down,
Yep.
which would then make it more difficult for people to breathe.
Sure. Yeah.
And then that's when they would be put on the ventilator. Hey,
So,
listen, it happened. It happened to my dad. I'm going to tell you something. I truly believe, with all my heart, if we had that bill, that my dad would still be alive, because my dad was making decisions in the hospital. And he could not breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
And I could not be there to help him. He's having to
that's-
call me and tell me.
Yes, that is the essence of the whole bill, is that it's going to be, as the state of Tennessee is not going to allow you to say, hey, you're not going to be able to come in here and make decisions for your family.
That's, man, I
Trust
tell you
us.
something. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
We're going to do it for you.
Yeah.
So don't worry. We just can't do that anymore. And
Never again.
no, and so that's basically what the bill's going to do. And like I say, it'll be a pretty heavy lift. There'll be some things we'll have to work on, but
A bill
We're just
like
not gonna do
that,
that again.
earlier in 2021, before you came into
Mm-hmm.
the House, they had a bill like that, and it didn't even get out of committee.
Yeah, what's amazing is when you said it's going to be a heavy lift. I think that would be a no-brainer.
you would think so.
I mean, I know
You
for a
would think
fact several people I know, including your family as well, stood outside and looked through the nursing home windows and
Yeah, with my
their
wife's
last
mom.
moments as family, trying to look through and wave at their loved ones. I mean, we're standing on the outside of the glass looking in. So this is absolutely ridiculous.
It is.
If you'd have told this to generations, any generation prior, any generation, I mean, go back in history as far as you want to go, and they would have laughed in your face.
Oh,
But
yeah.
this generation has received
Well,
that
and,
and taken that in.
I think some people too would probably rather just, based on how the situation was handled during that time, I think a lot of people would have rather laid their eyes on their family member and their loved one and said, you know what, he looks okay. He doesn't look that bad. Let's go
Right.
ahead and take him off oxygen. Just give him a couple days and see if he bounces back a little bit before we start going into
See,
heavy
and
drugs
that was the whole
and
thing.
everything else. Because I know a lot of people would make that decision just based off of. I mean, we didn't know about remdesivir. We didn't know about the shot. I can tell you that right now, and you can call me a conspiracy theorist on
That's why they call
that.
medicine practice.
That's right.
You're practicing
That's right.
medicine, and
That's exactly
you're
right.
constantly perfecting it, and you're working for it. And I don't believe medical profession wants
Well,
to hurt
and,
or harm humanity, but
yeah,
you
that's
do
right.
have to follow the money when it comes to
You got to
insurance and
definitely
funding.
follow
It
the
follows
money.
the money.
I said it during one of our debates we had in Murray County during the primary. I said, just because you're going through a medical emergency or a pandemic or whatever else doesn't mean you lose your rights. You don't just say, okay, we've got a pandemic. Government takes total control
Right.
over us now. We're done.
Right.
Well, see,
Take
and
it.
That's
don't
exactly
work
right.
that way.
You're 100% correct.
Does not work that way.
And I'm going to tell you this, and you know this too, Brandon, is, literally, on my grandparents' side, I lost 60% of my family members. I would have been one of those statistics too if I had went to the hospital. And I didn't go. I didn't get the remdesivir. I didn't get put on the ventilation. But make no mistake, I spent 10 straight days. My oxygen levels didn't even see 85. And 88 is when they started intubating people. So I'm just going to tell you something. Kip, I will fight to the death on that bill, because my wife actually thinks one of the reasons her mom died as soon as she did is because she could not go and visit her. None of the family could go and visit her there in the nursing home. So she just thought everybody had abandoned her.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you something. That's big, Kip.
Well, everyone's wearing masks, and elderly people, their hearing's not as well, and people were wearing masks and they couldn't hear. And so I didn't realize how much I personally read lips until everyone started wearing masks.
Absolutely.
And I would look at people and go, okay, I'm going to have to you're going to have to talk louder.
Yeah, speak up.
I mean, my wife, I would stop and say, I would tell her if we were going into business or something, I'd say, you're going to have to do the listening on this, because background noise really jumps in for me. And I'm not, I wouldn't say I have a hearing impaired version, or I have a disability with hearing, but there are those who do, and they wear hearing aids and things, elderly folks that cannot communicate, and they were communicating about their life-saving or their situation. My grandmother, I'll throw this out there for anyone that's listening, my grandmother died. She was 98 years old. She died in 2021. She was a dementia patient, and had been, had went through its final stage. She was in terrible condition as far as physically. They called the family in, or what they would allow to come in at that time. It wasn't much that they would allow in 2021, but she was already on hospice at that point in a nursing home. They did a COVID test every Monday in that nursing home. This is in Tennessee. They did a COVID test. They did a COVID test on her on Monday. She tested positive for COVID, even though she was on hospice. Whenever her death certificate came out, it stated cause of death was COVID.
Wasn't she given the vaccine like a
14
week?
days 14 days
2
before
weeks.
she tested positive for COVID.
Yeah.
Yep. So these are just real. This is a real story with me, and most people don't know. I was actually talking to some liberals that I know, and actually when I explained to them that the hospitals were receiving, I believe, and don't quote me on the exact dollar amount, but it's just under $30,000 per death of people that had passed away or died in their facility, nursing home, hospital, whatever. I know a liberal group of people that did not even know that was a real thing. If you don't watch the news and if you only watch select news, you're only going to see a select portion of what they want you to hear. They're spoon feeding out information.
Exactly right.
My hat's off to WDXE for letting us come
Shout
in
out
and have an
WDXE.
open conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Conservative radio, thank you so much for doing this. I want to thank everyone for coming in, listening, and we get comments, and we're sending this out. Matter of fact, Lawrence, I got contacted from a radio station in Chattanooga and sent this, one of our shows, a couple of our shows, you're on one of your shows, Kip, to Chattanooga today.
Cool.
With some stuff that's going on there.
Awesome.
So you might think, well, we're not really getting out. And people are like, well, only a few people are watching it. But I'll say this, the few that are watching it are the ones that matter. And
right.
they're actually the ones that get things done. And they're paying attention. So my hat's off for that. Now, I want to say this. If you haven't subscribed, you need to subscribe because that gets links in here. If you need to like it, you need to comment. We need your comments. And quite honestly, even if you don't like it and you want to comment, I don't care. You can put your comment on there. As a matter of fact, I don't even personally read comments most of the time. I do go back through some of them, but other people see it. And let me say this. If someone comments on our video, strike up a conversation on there. Those of you that watch it and you like it, hey, you know what? That gives you an opportunity to actually get into some dialogue online and defend some of these points that we live by here. Going on to another bill, Kip, HB 1615. This bill is going to be proposed or has been proposed. It's going to eliminate the language of the law where if our governor, Bill Lee, who I'm concerned about, Bill Lee, if he wants to put out an executive order, it takes away the misdemeanor portion of it to where if you violate a mask mandate, if you violate an assembly of more than 15 people at your home, we're talking about this, so I'm going to bring it up.
Right.
And this is raw, so we didn't talk about this beforehand.
Yeah, no idea.
So actually, I just sent it to you while we're sitting here on the radio. But we need to get behind this bill because it pulls the language out to where Bill Lee can pass an executive order if he wants to, but it's not going to be a misdemeanor if you don't follow King Bill's his dialogue or whatever he's dictating to us that we have to follow.
Right.
I call them unconstitutional edicts.
They are unconstitutional, number one. And I'm just going to tell you something. To me, Bill Lee has been a total disappointment, and I'm just going to say it. And I voted for him in 2018. I did not vote for him in 2022, and I actually want my vote back from 2018. Because a lot of things that he has been putting out and a lot of things that he has done is coming right out of the Democratic playbook. I think he's been reading the Democratic playbook more than he has the Republican playbook. I'm sorry.
Sure.
That's how it is. I'd love for him to come on and defend himself even.
Yeah.
I'd have no problem giving him the microphone. As a matter of fact, I'd like to give him the microphone.
Oh, he would never come on this radio station?
Well, I'm just saying, it's out there. I'm putting it out there.
Right.
Anybody like that.
Well, what's amazing to me is I would be willing to go onto a liberal radio station.
Absolutely.
But why would a conservative not want to come on a conservative radio station?
He's not conservative.
Well, I mean, even I'm not liberal, but I would go. Even I could argue my points.
Yeah,
I mean,
we can defend our positions.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, so and I
without
think
going into name
liberal
calling.
person could defend their positions if that's what they really believe. They can say that they have a legitimate way of looking at it. Why would a conservative avoid conservatives? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. But I want to say this to our people who are listening. Look up HB 1615. Okay, I mean, go to it, read it. It's only one page. It's real quick.
Is that a constitutional amendment?
It is. I'm trying to read it right now as we're talking about. I don't see it as a constitutional amendment because if it was, this is just being proposed as a bill. It was filed on December 6th of 2023. So I'm looking at it right now as we're talking, trying to look it up. No, it's not. So a constitutional amendment was going to take 7 years to get it through. We don't need a constitutional amendment on that one. We just need a bill. It needs to be created a law. We need some good legislation. Our government is set up. It is a Christian form of government, whether you like it or not. Okay, I'm about to get biblical, so if you don't like it, just turn the radio off. I don't care.
Right.
The thing is, even the modern day Israeli people, their government, have gone in and looked at the United States Constitution. They looked at the Israeli Constitution, and they have said, their scholars, their rabbis have said that the United States is more Judeo than theirs is.
That's
it
correct.
It follows more the law of Moses than Israel's current constitution. I'm talking about present day. I'm not going back 50 years or anything.
That's
right
correct.
now. We are more biblically in line than Israel is.
Wow.
Okay? Now, and I didn't say that. Israelis said that. Okay? Now, that being said, I want to be very clear on why government was created. Government was created for the unbelievers, to keep the unbelievers in line. The believers are to create a solid, godly form of government that keeps unbelievers in check. That's why we have laws that say don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery. I mean, adultery is on the books. I mean, that was against the law, okay? Homosexuality was banned in all 50 states. I mean, there's a law. I mean, I'm just
Matter of
giving
fact,
you
I think it's still banned in Tennessee, actually.
Right, but they've superseded it with our federal governments coming in and trying to tell us what we can do and what we cannot do.
But see that
all these things were written right out of the Bible.
Right.
Okay, that's where all of our laws affiliated from and came from. So now, what we should be doing is we have to now, right now, Kip, as legislators are going back into session, we've got to get our focus back on the fact that we write laws, we institute laws to protect the godly.
Yep.
A godly person is not going to kill someone.
That's right.
A godly person's not going to steal. Now, do people make mistakes? They do, and I understand that. So I'm going to be clear on this. Sure. But it is to keep those who are unbelievers in check. That's the whole point of it. Go back to Noah when he got off the ark, and you can see where government was first instituted in the Bible. I believe it's Genesis chapter 9. Don't quote me.
It's called Noahide laws.
Noahide laws. There it is. And so that's where it started. So now today, what we have now, and I'm going to finish this, and I'm backing off my soapbox. What we have now, though, is we have the ungodly taking over our government. So what happens when the ungodly take over our government? They want to legalize abortion, which is murder, killing the unborn. Yeah. They want to reduce crimes. That's one of the biggest fights right now on going on in the political realm is they're reducing crimes. They got rid of capital punishment. I mean, you know what eliminates murder? Someone commits first-degree murder, that person, their life must be taken, according to Genesis chapter 9. So let me say this, and let me be really clear. If we are going to move forward in this nation, we're going to have to bring it back to a godly form of government or it will fail. They want, when I say they, I mean the unbelievers taking over our government. They want riots in the streets. They want protest. They want the breaking into shops and stealing. That's what's going on now. Now they're not even shoplifters or walking out of stores and they're not even stopping them. They're telling them, don't stop them.
That's right. As long as they don't steal more than $1,000, they're just letting them walk out. They're letting them walk out.
It's so bad that stores are closing in some states.
Well, you know what? But some of these
because
people,
they can't stop the theft. Right. It's so bad. It's so rampant because they cannot enforce it. Other generations had thieves. Why is this generation having a problem? Because we are forming one of the most ungodly forms of government that has ever been in the history of mankind, and it's coming right up under our feet right here. So I know I'm on a soapbox right now, and I apologize for that, but I'm not going to steal your thunder. Lawrence, go ahead, buddy. I know you got something you want to say. I see the way you're looking.
No. I mean, I'm agreeing with you on 100% of what you're saying on this because what our biggest problem is we have laws on the books that we're not enforcing. We're choosing to enforce it. And then we have a Biden administration that is choosing to take some of these laws and go after certain people.
Well, and to piggyback on that, I was talking to somebody about this today. You know, Biden has really set a dangerous precedent going forward in this country, I think.
Yes.
Because now it seems to me that whatever party's in control of the White House ultimately has basically this card up their sleeve, which is the DOJ. And whatever party's in control can weaponize the DOJ at any point in time, whenever they choose, to go after their opponents, to go after whoever they want. And I'm not going to stand here or sit here and say, hey, Trump's not going to do that, or some other Republican's not going to do that. I don't know. I don't know who wouldn't do that. But Biden has set the precedence of...
Actually, Obama did, if you think about it.
Well, if you go back, technically it wasn't as rampant as Biden's done. But, I mean, the precedence is there now. Whichever controlling party is there, guess what, baby? They got control of the FBI and the DOJ.
Yeah, I mean,
that is scary.
Let me say this for the Christians that are listening. And I know we got Christians listening.
Yeah.
They're starting to light my phone up right here while we're talking. Like, yeah, come on, let's hear it.
Yeah.
I'll say this for the Christians that are listening right now. If you're listening to this radio station, if you're listening to this on podcast, whatever, you need to forward this out to your friends, because I'm telling you, they're coming for the Christians.
Yep.
They want to make freedom of speech outlawed. They want to ban what we are doing right now because we might offend someone, and I want to be very clear.
Exactly right.
There is no constitutional right that protects you from being offended. It does not exist. And we are so wrapped up and concerned about offending someone now. Right. You know, we come into this radio station, we're going to sit down in front of the microphone. You know, people are concerned about, we might offend someone, and then they might call us names, Lawrence, and they might yell and scream at us or whatever. You know,
Ask me, do I care?
We did an event in Bedford County, and that event we did in Bedford County with the conservatives of Bedford County, one of the first things I talked about was my grandfather in World War II stepped off of a boat and went onto the beaches of Normandy under machine gun fire. And these men got off these boats and ran to that beach to protect freedom. And grown men now won't walk into a room full of insults to protect freedom.
You know what they're doing? You know, these same grown men, they're sitting there behind their TV, and they're sitting there playing that video games as if they were going on the beach in Normandy.
We had 17-year-olds lying about their age to go overseas.
Trying to get in there. Trying to get in there because they wanted to protect this nation. And you know what? I don't believe that that's all dead and gone.
Well,
but I'm going to tell you what's
there.
happened is there are people now, and they're too preoccupied. They're way too comfortable to get up and to get motivated. COVID changed me forever.
Yes.
Okay? COVID changed me forever. I lost loved ones. I lost freedoms. I absolutely lost freedoms. And I'm a changed man. I don't know why HB 1615 is going to have trouble getting off the ground, but let me say this for the record. I'm going to be talking about who votes for this and who doesn't, because why in the world would we need a bill that needs to come out anyways that has to strip the power from the governor? Now, okay, right now, let's think about this. Right now, we have a Republican governor, okay? Sometimes I wonder about it. Well, let me tell you something. Michigan and other states, California, look even worse. What if we hand that office, that position, off to someone who is way more radical than Bill Lee ever thought about being? Don't ever say it can't get worse.
Oh, I agree with you on that.
Point.
But here's the thing that we do have. We have checks and balance with our Senate and our House, though, where these other states don't. These other states have voted to go Democrat, and their House, their Senates in these states are Democratic also, so they agree with what these governors are doing.
Sure.
So if we were to have that, and if we had our Senate and our House that we do now, they wouldn't put up with it. And I'll put it to you this way. This is a very good point. When Bill Lee was making all these edicts and everything else, we had our House and our Senate stand up and basically tried to strip powers, not from Bill Lee, but strip powers from the United States government about coming in and taking away our freedoms. And that's where we had the 10th Amendment and the nullification come in. And you can probably speak more intelligently than I can on that issue, Kip.
I mean, the 10th Amendment, the nullification stuff we have to get done, obviously. I mean, it's just going back to the states' rights issue that we have. I'm a big states' rights guy, obviously. And
sure.
You know, when you really get down to the bottom of it as far as the 10th Amendment goes, from my opinion, people in D.C., other than our congressmen, they don't care about Tennessee. And they don't know about Tennessee. Somebody that lives in California, somebody that lives in New York, somebody that lives in Maine, somebody that lives even Florida or anywhere else, they don't know about Tennessee because they're not here. So Tennessee needs to govern itself because guess what? We live here. We care about the things that are going on that affect our state. It's not the job, I think, personally, and we can get into another discussion about it, but D.C. doesn't need to control Tennessee.
Well, you know, perfect example of that, what you're saying about these other states don't even care. We just had a senator that was appointed after Dianne Feinstein died in California, and Gruesome Newsom appointed a woman out of Maryland to be the senator for California. She had to move from Maryland to go to California and change her address. How stupid is that?
Well,
are you telling me out of the state of California, out of the 50 million people or how many ever lived there, you couldn't find?
There wasn't one person that was qualified.
Well, I will say this: the best ones are leaving, so he better grab someone quick because people are leaving California in droves, fleeing to get out there. And when they move out, they instantaneously get a raise because they've dropped all those state taxes, they've dropped all those property taxes, they dropped the high gas prices, and they move out of the state of California and they come here and they live like a whole nother lifestyle. They move up the food chain, if you will. But let me go back to Bill Lee on one more thing, and I don't harp on Bill Lee very much. I don't talk about him very much.
Nothing to talk about.
He's there. We're having to deal with it right now. Okay, we're going to be present. We're going to be there. But one thing that people bragged on Bill Lee for, they said, "Oh, Bill Lee, during the COVID, he handed it off to the county executives to decide if they were going to force mandates." And people have actually bragged on Bill Lee to me for that, and I bit my tongue in certain circles. But let me say this on radio live. That was terrible. What he should have done is he should have said there's not one county executive going to enforce this in our state. And he should have stood up for the citizens' rights instead of saying, I'll give it over to them. No, you hold the line.
He was passing the buck is what he was doing.
People have asked me today. I got in a conversation today. Someone called me, or I actually called someone else, and it got on the state nullification thing. And they asked, what do you think about this? I said, I don't think that Tennessee can get it passed right now. I just don't see it happening. Not until we actually get out there and inform people. I don't want to use the word educate. We don't educate people. We inform people. We bring information. But if we don't inform people of how this works, they're still sitting there believing that Bill Lee did a great thing because he handed off to county executives when actually he did a terrible thing. He should have stood up for our freedoms. And if there was any county executive that said, I'm going to put a mask mandate on this county, Bill Lee should have stepped in and said, no, you're not. Not in this state. You're not going to do it.
But hang on. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. The legislators in 2020 already did that, though. They just didn't put it in law, didn't they? Didn't they come in and put something out there? I've been told this numerous times.
I don't know about it.
I can't
So
remember.
I can't speak to that.
I can't speak to it. I can't remember. I'll figure it out though.
Yeah, I would like to get the information on that because, from my understanding, this has already been put in as precedent where our legislators said no. We're not going to do whatever the government says, that there is a 10th Amendment. And that was put in, I'm pretty sure it was put in either in 2020 or 2021.
We need to go back and research that.
Yeah.
And but I will say this. Look up HB 1615. Okay, I got to move right along.
Come on.
Yeah.
Talked about Hillary Clinton in here last week because, Orlando really loves her. But
You a big fan of Hillary, Lawrence? Big Hillary lady?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Al Gore has now come out, and he's protesting against, and not protesting, maybe that's the wrong word, but he's actually speaking out against these colleges, Harvard, different ones, that are just bringing anti-Semitism out. I mean, actually, can't believe what's being spoken. It's hard to believe, but the Democrat Party has moved so far left that Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, no longer fit in the in crowd. The Republican Party has not moved. It stayed the course.
Yeah.
30 years ago, it was pro-life. 30 years ago, traditional marriage. It was all the things it was 30 years ago. The left has moved to the extreme left and then look back at us and say, well, you guys are far
Where'd
right.
y'all go? Yeah.
It's like, you're making Al Gore and Hillary Clinton look moderate.
Which is a wild concept.
They're moderate.
That's wild.
Well,
You mentioned Barack Obama. I'm telling you, I bet you pull Barack Obama out right now and start questioning him. He's going to look. Now we remember him as, Barack Obama. We remember him. And we remember those days. But I'm telling you right now, even Barack Obama, to see how far things have moved to the left, and within the last 8 years, they have absolutely pulled this country over the cliff. If you identify as a Democrat, you really and truly need to go read the Democrat platform. Make sure that's what you identify as. Because if you grew up Democrat, I promise you it's not the same party you grew up with. They've changed. The question I have for the Lawrence County voters is, have you changed? That's the question I have. If you haven't changed, it may not be what you think it is. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Hunter Biden, what do you think about him, Kip? You gonna vote for him when he runs for president?
No. No. Did we ever find out whose cocaine was in the White House? Did that ever come out? They just kind of went away, didn't it?
It just kind of went away. I mean, they're not going to do
It was
anything
100%
about
Hunter
it.
Biden's. I think the sports books had him at like plus 100 or something for. They had like
They
the betting
gambled
lines
on it.
Yeah,
They
about
did.
whose
They
cocaine
gambled on
was.
it. Hunter Biden. I'll say this about Donald Trump. We've seen him. They've picked him apart in the last few days. All right? And so we're a Republican Party, so we're not really, going to support one candidate over another. I think we all look like Trump's going to be your candidate. He's going to be your nominee.
Yep.
But I told Lawrence just before we came into the radio station, we were walking in the door, and I said, if Donald Trump had done anything illegal, they would have found it by now.
Oh, can you
I mean, they
imagine?
have searched the books.
Oh.
Isn't it amazing how they have looked the other way with Hunter Biden? We've got a laptop. We've got all. What if Donald Trump had a laptop that had the same information that Hunter Biden had on himself?
Can you imagine?
What would they have done?
Can you imagine if Donald Trump Jr. had photos of him circulating, smoking meth with hookers in a hotel room? Can you imagine if that would have happened? That could have came out 2 years ago.
Celebrities would be on the news saying,
Yes.
if they don't prosecute him,
Yes.
I'll leave the United States.
That's right.
I wish a lot
That's
of them
what they would say.
leave.
That's what they would be
I
saying.
mean, it's crazy.
Hunter Biden.
It's absolutely nuts.
The Hunter Biden story is worthy of back in the old days when we were kids, they'd come out with a miniseries, the NBC miniseries. It's worthy of a miniseries. People would watch this.
I was watching a thing on social media. This guy was questioning. He's like, well, what do you think about, he had him set up. He was like, well, Donald J. Trump Jr. did this, and this. And it was all things that actually Hunter Biden had did. And he said, well, what do you think about this? Do you think if somebody did this, should they be prosecuted? And they were like, yeah, I think they should be prosecuted. And he said, well, who'd you vote for? And they said, Joe Biden. He said, well, that's actually Joe Biden's son that did that.
Yes.
And the guy's response was, well, I didn't vote for his son. I voted for Biden. But the thing is if you look at a man or you look at a man's family, that'll tell you all you need to know about the daddy.
Well, let's go back to biblical.
Right
Man
there,
can't
right?
run his own house.
I mean, am I wrong about that? You look at a man's family, that's a direct reflection on the dad right there. So, I mean, Hunter Biden's a joke. His dad's a joke. They're crooked. We've got confirmation that they did overseas deals on the backs of U.S. taxpayers, and last time I checked, that was treasonous behavior. So I don't really know what we're doing as far as that goes. But again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier about whoever's president just has the DOJ.
Well, they're trying to find out if Donald J. Trump did not cross the T and dot the I's in some forum somewhere.
Yep.
I mean, going back as decades to find anything they can find on him. This is, and I'm not making this up. This is just a fact.
It is.
Well, I mean, it came out today. That one of the people that New York used as an expert witness said today in court that Donald Trump's everything was perfect. It was to the T. And if anything, he understated his assets. And this is an expert witness that New York uses to prosecute people. And he came out and he said that. So what does that tell you? I mean, that right there is, it just shows you how we are weaponizing our legal system. It's rules for me, not for thee, or rules for thee, not for me.
That's right.
So I'm on this kick and I can't get off of it.
Come on.
All right? I may offend a bunch of people
Keep
right
kicking.
here. But I've had people come to me and go, well, you're a Christian and you voted for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, is he a Christian? They'll start asking you. Because Donald Trump says he's a Christian, okay? Number one, I'm not God. I don't look down into a man's soul and find out who he is. We judge man on the outside. The Lord sees people on the inside. But I've had people really come after me. Well, Donald Trump, he said this and he did that, and you voted for him, and you're a Christian. And I've seen Christians, and I bet you there are Christians listening to this radio program right now, and they have felt guilty about voting for Donald Trump. And let me say something to clear the air on this, and I'm about to clear it up.
Clear it up.
We are voting for a president, not a pastor.
There you go.
We're not voting a spiritual leader in place.
No.
And if we are, then get up off your rear and do something about it. If this is going to be a church, okay, well, then let's run it like a church.
I mean, hey, if I have my choice, would I want my president to be a solid Christian? Absolutely, I would. But if he's not, but he's going to do what's right by the Constitution, and he's going to do right by the American people, then unfortunately we have to settle these things.
Well, I'm on a roll. I can't help it. I might want to unplug the microphone because I might just make everyone run away before this is over. But you have pastors that wouldn't even consider running. Mm-hmm. Where are the pastors in America at? They're not going for office. Mm-mm. They're afraid to run for office. Yeah. They're afraid they may offend someone if they run for office. Exactly. You know what ought to be happening? Pastors, and I'm talking, if you're a pastor and you're listening to this radio show, I'm not mad at you. Just get up and get something going. Mm-hmm. If you get convicted over this, then get up and get something going. But where are the pastors? They would act like we should be voting for a pastor and then look at their pastor and say, no, you better not get involved in politics.
That's right. That's exactly
what they're doing. They'll try to pick them apart.
Right.
They'll try to, and a pastor may be afraid if I run, well, they're going to find something in my past. Well, you know what? Go ahead and clear the air and say, guess what? You go back in my past, you're going to find out that I was not a good guy. I'm a lot better than Lawrence. I'm a lot better than him.
Orlando situation.
He's got stuff in there, man, that I hope it don't come out.
Well, and I've heard a lot of
it's buried in the swamp.
Google that name, baby.
Oh, Lord. I've had a lot of people, pastors that I've talked to, say, well, I just don't want to put my church through that. What?
Your church ought to get behind you.
You don't want to put your church through that.
Thank God David Morgan didn't think
what
that.
What in the world? You don't want to put your church through it? Well, does your church not care that we're in a mess?
Well, let me say this to the average Christian that goes to church every Sunday. And we got them here. Yeah. Thank God you're there.
That's right.
Yeah. Why is the church not going to their pastor going, you know what, you're a good leader. Mm-hmm. Why don't you run for office?
Yeah.
Why don't you help us out?
Exactly.
Why are our pastors not running for county commissioners in their district?
Amen.
Why are the pastors not running for school board?
Yeah.
Oh, let me flip it around. Why is a pastor not looking through his congregation saying, you ought to run for school board and our church will get behind you?
Oh.
I'm going to put it both ways. Okay. I'm not singling one out.
No. There you go.
I'm just telling you how I feel about this.
I'm all about
I'm an expert on my opinion.
There you go.
Yes. And then you handed me a microphone and did
exactly
this.
Right.
So
we're just sitting here. Oh, what is going on?
We're not going to apologize here.
Yeah. Something happened with the. Hey, I got to jump in. I went and got some information from Uncle Dave Vance.
Oh.
So. What we were talking about? Yeah, what we were talking about with the 10th Amendment nullification and what happened during COVID.
Right.
It was Special Joint Resolution 9005 in October of 2021 that basically said that the government does not get to make any special rights or responsibilities other than what's in the 10th Amendment. Mm. And those things that are given in the 10th Amendment. Now, it was only a resolution.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, where's the teeth?
Yeah, there isn't. But here's the thing. In 2021, we got our Senate and our House. It was both voted on, both passed to put it in a resolution form. Well, by God, we need to grow a set. Okay, we need to grow a set. And let's go ahead and let's make this law. If you can put it in a resolution, then you can put it in as a law. I'm just going to put it out there. Period, end of story. Because I'm going to tell you something. The United States, we are sinking, and Tennessee doesn't need to sink with it.
Amen. Well, I'm in this because of attack on our freedoms.
That's right.
That's why I'm here. Folks, I could be doing a lot of other things that I would lots rather enjoy doing than sitting here talking politics. But you know what I'm going to do for my kids' sake and for my grandkids' sake? Mm-hmm. I want to be sure that I'm giving a voice here because we're going to hand this country over one day. Yep. And all of us, and let me say this to the Christians, all of us are going to give an account for the life we lived. You will give an account for every word you said and every word you should have said.
Oh, Lord.
You will give an account. Oh, you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble. You need to pray for grace and mercy, and you need to start fasting and praying right now, Lawrence. You're in so much
just trouble. The things I've said to Brandon, I need to ask forgiveness.
I have forgiven you.
Well, that's a good first step for sure, isn't it?
It is.
Every day.
The only reason, the only reason he forgives me because Jesus says that if you don't forgive, then you're not forgiven.
That's right.
So
Lawrence was put in my life for a reason.
Even more.
Lawrence was put in my life for a reason.
To keep you humble.
Oh, it's definitely keeping me humble. I'll give you that one. Kip, I don't know how you got drug into this mess, but you're in the middle of it.
I'm just here.
Well, he's responsible. A lot of it's responsible for me being here. Not only you, but also him, because he was one of the first politicians that I had met that I actually could believe in. that I actually thought would do the right thing and not what was right for Kip
Tell you
Capley,
the first-
but what was right for Lawrence County.
The first place I walked into and I started campaigning for this, very first place I walked into was West End. Y'all were having a breakfast.
Really?
Very first place. It was cold. Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
It was freezing cold. And I went back there, and J.C. Wisdom was cooking bacon. I remember this. And he was like, "What are you doing here? I don't know you." And I was like, "Oh, you know, I'd introduce myself
Sounds
to him."
exactly-
exactly.
Yeah. Like, I introduced myself to him, and he was like, "Is that bird feller not running?" I said, "No." And he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm right down the road. I live in Summertown." And he said, "Well, just hang out with us, and if you keep showing up, then we'll like you." And then I met you, and I had, and then Lawrence and some other people, and y'all had a meeting, a little West End meeting, monthly meeting, and I just spoke. I didn't really know what I was doing. I'd been campaigning and stuff, but and I kind of had a few things I wanted to work on, but I just.
You were in a safe place with us, weren't you?
I was, and I was like, I don't really know what to talk about, but we'll just, and y'all were like, well, just stand up, tell us how you feel, and
That's right.
yeah,
He was 25 when he was running. He didn't have a fully developed mind yet.
I didn't.
No.
It was still developing.
Yeah.
That was risky on our part.
It was. The 71st District took a big gamble with Kip Capley.
Can I say something, though? We have elected a lot of people with undeveloped minds, and they're sitting in office right now around this country.
And they're not 26.
And they're not 26. So.
They're 86.
I had this little boy tell me, he said,
Oh, Lord.
he said, he said, "I really like you." And I said, "Well, I appreciate that. I like myself too. I appreciate you telling me that. You give me the belly rubs." And he said, "Well, you're just country enough to just absolutely wear somebody out, but you're also nice and you're about intelligent." And I was like, "Well, I think that was a compliment." He led off with the country thing first, but that was fine. And I was like, I just
You're about intelligent.
about intelligent,
Almost.
It's humbleness, right?
I
I'm
call
almost
that
there.
a backhanded compliment.
It was.
And I do it to Lawrence all the time.
Every day.
That's where you slap him with a backhand and say something good to him.
Yeah, I was like, well, I think that's good.
Well, you know what? I remember you coming out to the community center. I believe the first time you spoke was January of 2022.
Yep.
And I believe that was the first meeting. I remember you coming out, talking with you, and you're a young guy, and I could tell that you were going to be a pit bull.
Well,
And
yeah.
I would tell you something. At that special session, when you voted to end that special session, I said, I just saw my vote at work.
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
And you know what? I know this, Kip. No matter how this resolutions go down, I believe with everything in my heart, you're going to be on the right side of that. You're going to be listening to your constituents, and you're going to vote how your community, your people are telling you they want to be represented.
People will brag about it, right? And they'll say, "Oh, it's easy. It's you just do what you folks tell you to do, and you're fine." But a lot of times, I make some really difficult decisions for y'all, and I'm not bragging about myself or whatever, but it gets tough. It really does.
But you're out there looking for opinions, though, too.
Yeah, exactly. And people will call me, and I'm saying this to say it gets easier on me when I call and talk to folks, and I explain things, and because every now and then you'll hear some whack job, something on Facebook that'll come out about something, and the narrative will get blown, and you move, and you go this way, and you go that way. And that was another thing with special session was like, well, hey, there's not going to be any red flag law, right? It's just not going to happen. It's not in the code. And I said, well, that's fine, but I still don't think we need to be here. And they said, well, why? And I said, because I told my people back home, I looked them in the face, and I told them that if there was an opportunity for me to vote to go home, guess what? I'm going to do it. That's it. We don't have any more room for discussion.
Wow.
It's over with. So, and people respect that, I think.
They absolutely do.
But I couldn't do that. I say this to say, and I'm fixing to hush.
I think you're doing great.
Yeah.
I couldn't
evangelize.
Yeah, I could not do the job that I do if it wasn't for y'all two and my other constituents in the 71st District that I can talk to and just say, hey, this is what's going on. These are the two options. This is what I think about it. What say you? And we could completely disagree, and that'd be fine. But at the end of the day, and I actually shout out to Tom Cunningham, we were at one of our GOP meetings, and he was asking a question, saying something, and I just flat out
Tom and Wendy Cunningham, great family.
He was asking me something, and some other people were asking a question, and I said, well, we'd heard this, and we'd heard that, and, well, what do you think about it? And we talked about it, and I finally just got to the bottom of it, and I was like, look, y'all just got to trust me. I mean, I can't. I'm up there for you. You just got to trust me. I'm here now. I mean, this is what you voted for me to do. You just got to trust me.
It really made it a lot easier, I think, also on you, if I'm not mistaken, when you voted to end the special session, and then it didn't end, and then the next day or day after you have 130 people
man.
up there.
Well, and I had text, I had phone calls from people, I had emails from people from across the state of people just being like, "Man, we love you. Like we're so thankful that you were one of those that listened to us and said, hey, we don't need to do this."
Yeah.
And that made it real easy too. And I'm not saying I don't need belly rubs.
You don't need belly
attention.
rubs.
I don't need anybody to love me except for Mama and Granny.
Yeah.
And that's it. But my nephews, of course, they don't love me anymore. I'm in a mess. Superhero uncle here, but y'all make my life easier with the decisions that I have to make, because I know even if I make a mistake, if I mess up, or if I make a decision that maybe we don't agree on, it's not the end of the world. Right?
No,
it's not.
everything's
not going
you.
to crumble. It's not going to be over with. It's not. I'm not going to be. Nobody's going to be waiting with a rope for me when I get home.
See,
That's a really nice
here's the
thing,
thing, and I've said this numerous times. I've said it to you. I've said it to just about everybody. As long as you defend our Constitution, we can have disagreements on other things, and we can still be friends.
Of course.
I draw the line in the sand at the Constitution.
Yeah.
And if you're going to go against our Constitution, you're going to go against taking away our rights, then that's when you're going to have a huge issue with me and the people that I know.
Yeah. Well, if someone was going to run against Kip Capley, they would have to be to the right of Kip Capley.
Impossible.
And I'm going to tell you, that would be when you voted to shut down a special session.
Good luck, buddy.
You just moved yourself over about 3 clicks.
Yeah.
I mean, you were very far away from anything left-leaning at that point.
You know what? And to bring this, to a point, about making decisions like this, it's like Clay Doggett. Clay Doggett made the exact opposite decision. He did not vote to end the special session, but after we talked to Clay, and Clay gave us the reason why, because he felt like he might have been removed off of his committee that he chaired and head of. And I'm going to tell you, we got to see Clay, lead that committee. And I'm going to tell you something. We're glad that he did.
He does a
good
job.
He does a good job. Good job, Clay Doggett.
Yeah,
I want to see you go further and do more, Clay. I really do. I want to see all you guys go further and do more in the state of Tennessee.
Hey, Southern Middle Tennessee's
and I hope we can be
blessed.
a hand and be an asset and support you guys and being able to do that, because we need to get good folks elected.
I really do. I'm serious.
And
it's a nice. I'm telling you, it's like having a warm blanket when you're cold.
That's right. And we've opened the door, and I say this for a lot of elected officials, if they listen. I know a lot of them do, county commissioners, elected officials right here, school board members, whoever. This door's open Wednesday at 5 o'clock. If somebody rolls up and they want to come on the radio station, they don't even have to have an appointment. You show up out here and meet us out here at the radio station, you get to come on, and we'll bring you in. We will give you a voice.
That's right.
We want to connect elected officials to their constituents. That's one of the things we want to do. And Lawrence and I have had this conversation many times since the very first point where we got involved in politics. My ultimate goal is to get elected officials and candidates in front of a microphone. Let them talk. They will tell you who they are. I don't even want to do a closed door meeting, really. I mean, you get into those sometimes just because you're around people. But what I really want is for people to come out and tell who they are. And I don't want to dictate that to people. The town hall meetings we do, you folks, I'm telling you, I stand there and I'm holding the microphone and I'm biting my tongue because I got an opinion just like everyone else. But I try my best, and I think it shows that we try our best to step aside and let the public talk to the elected official when we do a town hall meeting.
Amen.
And it's tough for me. I'm standing there holding the microphone, and I won't comment. I walk in and I have to prep myself mentally. I'm like, okay, you're not going to say a word, Brandon. And I mean, I know I'm a lot quieter than Lawrence, but I'm still a big mouth. And so that was.
This is another backhand compliment.
That's another backhand compliment.
Yeah,
you see there? That's how you do it.
LGBT, baby, right here.
Lord.
You're looking at LGBT.
Let's go.
So I tried to educate. Look, I tried to educate Lawrence and Chris Morris today on how you deal with human beings.
Well, if you need
I
any
usually
help,
say informed, but to these I say I tried to educate.
Yeah.
And I taught them the Jesus model.
Okay.
In the Book of Revelation, Jesus used the Oreo cookie when he was dealing with 7 churches. Okay. He started off with a compliment. then he give the criticism, and then he ended up with a compliment or
Okay.
a pat on the back. And I'm paraphrasing.
Sure.
Okay. And we're talking about a heaven or hell issue. So I'm trying to work with Lawrence on this. And I mean, we're getting there. I saw progress today. It was small, but we take what we can get.
Do you believe
Look,
that?
he is speechless.
He is speechless because he doesn't believe it.
I just will reserve my comments.
Yeah, exactly.
later
And you need
time.
to, because you know what? Here, I'm going to tell you what part of the conversation was.
Oh Lord, we're getting into it now.
Yeah, we were talking about being tactical, and we're talking about being strategic.
They're two different things.
They are very two different
They are
things.
very different.
And he is definitely
It's Lawrence and Brandon.
that's the reason we get along so well, because he's strategic and I'm tactical.
Yin and yang action.
Yeah. So he started going off about being strategic and everything, and I dropped this on him, and then I did the drop the mic, and he didn't respond.
Oh, no.
The only thing I got
I thought he dropped his phone at his age. I thought that's what he said. I dropped my phone.
No, I put on here. You can see it. Drop the mic. Okay. I go. I said without tactical people, strategic is useless. No one there to implement.
Oh.
And then drop the mic. And even Chris said, "Laugh my blank off."
But you know why he said that is because I told him that the tactical people always die first in war. So I mean, he didn't.
Well,
like
you can
that,
have
so
a little too much of both.
There you go. There you go.
You can.
You can be too tactical.
I think we
and
balance
not be
each
enough-
other out
you can
pretty
have too
well.
much strategy and not
Absolutely
be
we
enough
do.
tactical. Yeah.
You know. I mean,
And we have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah,
don't
that's
we?
right.
Yeah.
That's right. We have a lot of
Very
fun
well
doing this
good.
show, and
Yeah.
we're glad for people that are listening. And I want to say, we're not going to have another Republican Party meeting until January. It'll be the fourth Tuesday of January. We want folks to come out. We've talked about some serious issues here tonight, and we've had
Yes.
some fun. And because we're friends, at the end of the day, we're friends. And I want to extend the olive branch to those who may not even agree with me politically. I want you to know you're welcome to come to our meetings. I had a guy standing in the courthouse about, maybe 2 months ago. And it's just before we were getting ready to go into our monthly meeting with the Republican Party in Lawrence County. And I had a gentleman there who's probably, maybe, I'm going to guess, around 80 years old. And he was standing off to the side, and I didn't know him. And I walked up, and I shook his hand before we went in to get our stuff set up. You guys know how it looks there in the hallway. And he told me, he said, "This is the first Republican Party meeting I've ever been to in my life." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "My father would probably be very upset with me if he were here right now. We were Democrats. I was raised a Democrat, but the Democrat Party has gone so far that I can no longer say I identify as a Democrat." And I said, "Sir," I said, "if your father was still alive and able, he'd be standing right here beside you because you were about your values."
That's right.
And the Democrat Party has changed their values, but
right.
you have not.
Yep.
And we have to come together. So I want to extend the olive branch. You may be 80 years old, never been to a meeting, and that gentleman actually joined the Republican Party in that
Bam.
meeting. So let me tell you something. You're not too old to stand up for what's right. You're never too old to tell the truth. You're never too old to say, "I'm sorry." You're
right.
never too old to realize the situation. Take a little self-assessment. Well, here we are coming at the end of the year. It's a holidays. It's Christmas. It's New Year's. People a lot of times do self-assessments. You know what I want to encourage Lawrence County to do? Let's take a look at ourselves individually and as a county and as a state, as a nation. But it starts on the personal level. And if you're a Democrat, I want to tell you something. You may have been a lifelong Democrat. Come talk to us. We may not be as far off from where you are right
Yeah.
now. We live in the same county, and I guarantee you, we shopping at the same stores.
Yep.
We eat at the same restaurants. We're together. You can't tell us apart. You know why? Because our core values are the same. But the Democrat Party, my friend, has left you behind.
Oh yeah.
Has very much left you behind. And I extend olive branch. Come out and join us. And the Lawrence County Republican Party putting this show on. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I can't say it
$5.
enough.
$5 to join the Republican Party.
$5. It's because we need a dues-paying membership.
That's correct.
And we have not pushed an open
Yeah.
membership to where we walk around town handing out membership forms.
Nope.
You know what we encourage people to do? If you want to be a member, come to a meeting.
Yep.
Because we want a membership that's actually active.
That's right.
And, when people come say, "How many members you got?" Well, I don't know, somewhere around 85 members that have signed up and paid their dues, okay? And I think that's tremendous because that's people that have actually been to the meetings.
That's right.
And a lot of times people come to meetings and they don't join the first time. They just come and they check it out. I'm fine with that. I'm totally okay with that.
And I've had people that have come to me and say, hey, I want to join the Republican Party, bring me a form and I'll give you the money. And I'm like, no, you got to come to the meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
People
have asked me that several times.
And it was, it's awful tempting, let's get as many as we can. But if you can't take an hour a month out of your time, then why join up and why give the $5?
And I guarantee you'll learn a whole lot more in that hour than you will on the news.
Yes,
we have done
thank you.
so many awesome
I guarantee you.
We allow our elected officials to speak.
Yep.
If our good sheriff is there, John Myers, he will speak. Our county executive, Kip, you've spoke. You've been there so much. I mean, I can't tell you how much we appreciate having a state representative in our Republican Party meetings.
Absolutely.
It means a lot. And to all of our elected officials, if you're running as a Republican, I don't care if you're a county commissioner, school board, whatever your position is, and you show up to our meetings, it's important.
It is.
God bless you for doing it. Lawrence, take us out of here.
All right. Well, I tell you what, to end it up, fastest hour, we're down to 30 seconds. So I will say this to everybody. Come out. We want you out. We want you to become a part of us. And I'm going to tell you something. We are blessed in this county to have the representatives that we have. And you're right. You will come. You'll see our sheriff. You'll see Kip. You'll see Clay Doggett there. You'll sometimes even see Paige Wally has come a couple of times. So I will tell you that we try to educate everybody, and we also try to not exclude anybody either. We want you to come out. We want to hear your thoughts. And I will say this, God bless Tennessee, God bless you guys, and God bless Lawrence County.
Amen.